43 medals MBBS.
So precise number, I think I would put it at 40.
And still you call a decent academician 40? So Chennai paiyan, born, brought up is Chennai.
More often. So my mom's native was somewhere around Madurai, and of course both the parents in a way, and I used to get somewhere around first to third rank, somewhere around that.
That is not decent, that is brilliant side.
Having to choose something different was what I always wanted, so that's how medicine came into the picture. So if somebody appreciates you, that acts as a momentum to push you for a second time to do the same thing, because there's a reward theory associated. So that was dope. I think I've tried doing all that, so I throw my hands into whatever stuff I can do. So that's about the extracurricular side. Academics, yeah, vandavara paathukla.
What is better service than a medical service to get into IAS? Hi aspirants, this is UPSC and Beyond Season 2. Yes, so நிறைய episodes பார்த்துட்டோம் Season 2ல. இன்னைக்கு episode is quite close is because we are meeting someone whose journey is very motivating. நிறைய பேருக்கு ரொம்ப motivating. நான் முதல்வன் ஸ்கீம் மூலமாகவும் சரி, மற்ற பல platformsலையும் people would have seen him. Rank 1 of Tamil Nadu for UPSC CSE 2023. Dr. Prashanth இன்னைக்கு நம்ம கூட இருக்காரு. So he is going to talk a lot about how he cleared this exam. Of course, academically நாங்கள் கொஞ்சம் கம்மியாக வச்சுருக்கணும் அப்படின்னு டிசைட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். So we are going to talk more about என்ன habits, என்ன பண்ணோம், எப்படி படிக்கணும். And he was telling a lot about his self-study journey also. So நிறைய இந்த மாதிரியான விஷயங்கள் இன்னைக்கு டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ண போகிறோம். So let's see. So hi Prashanth, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Firstly, thank you for being a part of today's podcast. ஏன்னா வந்து as I was always telling என்னோட பாட்காஸ்ட்டில், I want to meet a lot of people who cleared and made this at a very recent time, is because UPSC every year evolve ஆகிட்டே இருக்கு. Every year you have a surprise that UPSC gives you in some or the other form. இந்த வருஷம் கூட வேணும்னே ஒரு 20 நாள் லேட், அரௌண்ட் 10-15 days நோட்டிஃபிகேஷனே லேட் பண்ணி நம்ம எல்லாரையும் டென்ஷன் ஆகும். ஸோ when that is evolving, and I think even preparation needs to evolve. So in that aspect, I always wanted to meet people like you who have done this very recently, but not just cleared it, but has come out with flying colors. So firstly, my thanks for being part of this.
My pleasure being as well.
Yeah, so we'll start today with an open-ended question as usual, which I normally ask to all my guests. So why UPSC? How did it start?
Like frankly, my journey into UPSC was relatively all of a sudden, I would say. So until like maybe class 12 or something, I was not much into UPSC. My initial motto was just to get into MBBS medicine. Again, I come from a family wherein there's been no doctor. So the first gen doctor, I would say rather, and my grandmother was my inspiration. So my mom's mom, and she was the one who brought me up, because I had working parents, and technically when there's working parents, it's always the elders in the family who bring you up. So enakku andha mari dhaan irundhu, and in party vandu she always had this love and passion for the white coat. So that's how I also kind of instilled it. I was always that guy who would say, no, sorry, I'm not doing engineering. If somebody asks, okay, what next? No, it's not engineering.
No, at least you had the clarity to not do engineering. That's amazing.
So I was always, no, never for engineering. Like engineering was something I hated for some reason.
Okay.
I never knew why, but I would hate it. I was never good at physics as well, so maybe that could be a reason. And my mom again came from a commerce background. My grandparents also in a way. My dad, everybody was completely into BCom, ASAWA, chartered accountancy, something on these lines. And my uncle was an engineer, of course. So only these two fields were there at home. So having to choose something different was what I always wanted. So that's how medicine came into the picture. And of course, that passion, personal passion also. I relatively loved and liked medicine. And once into medicine, okay, what next? So I knew that for UPSC, you needed to do a degree. And if doing the degree was an option, what next after degree? So it's either UPSC or continue with NEET PG and maybe do a PG super specialty. So that's the basic thing.
So UPSC padikkanonu medicine padikkiradhukku munadi you decided?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it was something at the back of my mind, but I was not very concrete or solid about how it should work. So I thought, okay, let me try UPSC, but let me try it after MBBS. Once I know I have a solid, backup option.
So mentally நீங்க அந்த லாங் ஜர்னிக்கு வந்து டபுள் லாங் ஜர்னி. ஒன் இஸ் UPSC ஒரு லாங் ஜர்னி, MBBS ஒரு லாங் ஜர்னி.
Like say அந்த serials or soap operas or cinemas எல்லாத்துலயும் you see that collector, you see that IAS, IPS, but you never knew like how the journey is, like how they read, how they come up. So I didn't know, I only knew this much, that you had to do a degree. It could be a 3-year degree, it could be a 4-year degree, or it could be MBBS or whatsoever. But with a secure option, something that I also loved, and also something that probably I can decide later. What if I'm going to do UPSC? Okay, I'll take that call later. If I don't do UPSC, I'm like very happy with what I'm doing in medicine, more than good. So I would have continued with medicine. And at home, it was always a free hand. So that's something I always tell people also. வீட்டில் எப்போவுமே உங்களுக்கு ஒரு ஃப்ரீ ஹேண்ட் கொடுக்குறாங்க. If you can make a conscious decision, if something is not instilled in you and saying, okay, you should become only this, if not this, nothing. So if that's something you like, all good. If it's something you don't like, then no. It's a strict no. So எனக்கு அந்த வீட்டில் அந்த ஃப்ரீ ஹேண்ட் எப்போவுமே இருந்தது. Amma, Party, or whosoever it was, they gave a free hand. They said, you do whatever you want, we have that confidence in you. So this is the prelude to the UPSC journey.
Okay. So Chennai paiyan, born, brought up is Chennai.
More often. So my mom's native was somewhere around Madurai, and of course both the parents in a way, but they were all settled for job in Chennai, and at least 20-25 years plus. So I was a pure born brought up guy of Chennai. And of course my dad was settled in Pune, Maharashtra as well. So off and on, back and forth between Pune and Chennai, I would say. Otherwise, yeah, general schooling, general stuff, MBBS and all that was in Chennai.
Chennai தான். ஸோ 2 பிக் திங்ஸ் அகாடமிக்கலி, அதாவது ஒரு பையன் அறிவாளி, புத்திசாலி அப்படின்னு சொல்லணுன்னா, நம்ம இந்தியன் சொசைட்டியில் இருக்கிற 2 பெரிய விஷயம் வந்து, ஒன்று டாக்டர், ஒன்று வந்து IAS எக்ஸாம் கிளியர் பண்ணுறது. இது 2மே பண்ணியிருக்கிற ஒரு பர்சன் நீங்கள். ஸோ இப்போது இது முடிச்சாச்சு, இது 2மே முடிஞ்சிருச்சு. பின்னாடி போனால் அச்சு ஸ்கூல் டைமில் வேர் யூ அ பிரில்லியன்ட் சாம்ப், இல்லை அந்த நிறைய புக்கு படிக்கிற பர்சன், வேர் யூ தட் நர்ட் கிட்? ஐம் சாரி டு யூஸ் தட் வேர்ட், பட் ஐம் ஜஸ்ட் ட்ரைங் டு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட். ஏன்னா படிக்கிற பிள்ளை எங்கே இருந்தாலும் படிச்சுக்கும், டாக்டரும் படிக்கும், IASம் படிக்கும்.
Right.
Was it like that or how?
So for me, academics was something that I kind of enjoyed as well. So எனக்கு அந்த பெரிய compulsions, you should get this much marks அந்த மாதிரி, at least until class 10, I don't think people always say that. But I've always believed in one thing, that somewhere down the lane, if you did really well, say even if it's a running race competition, you win. So somebody will appreciate, wow, okay, பையன் வந்து ஜெயிச்சிட்டான் அப்படின்னு. So that was dope. So if somebody appreciates you, that acts as a momentum to push you for a second time to do the same thing, because there's a reward theory associated. So I think school எனக்கு எப்பவுமே அப்படிதான் இருந்தது. I was definitely a decent academic kid, in the sense I used to get somewhere around 1st to 3rd rank, somewhere around that.
That is not decent, that is brilliant side.
In the sense, yeah, I mean maintaining it is always a tough thing. So yeah, first rank எடுத்துட்டு அடுத்த ஒரு தடவை, like if you start getting 3rd rank, even that hurts.
No, now I can feel how performance freak you are. You want to get it in aspect.
Yeah, so if there's something that I really bad for, then I ensure that I do everything possible to get it. But if it is still out of my reach, then I come to terms that yeah, this is not something that I can do. But if there is even an iota of chance, I always take the chance to go all the way out and trying, at least to ensure that it is done. So that has always been me since school. So I've been something who has been more passionate about, I think, public speaking, orations, extracurriculars also, and academics. So both ways. I'm not more of a sports kid. So sports has never been my niche. I think that's something I kind of repent relatively for.
Okay.
So that's a part of the remorse side. But otherwise, generally, when the extracurriculars also, I do anything. I mean, I've been into random extracurricular activities at school. It could, go from even poetry recitation to theatrics to even some random music or dance. At least vandavara at least pannuvom. So I think I've tried doing all that. So I throw my hands into whatever stuff I can do. So that's about the extracurricular side. Academics, yeah, vandavara paathukla. So it's always been that way. Until 10th at least, it was never very conscious, just to stay competitive. Avladha. But post 10th, again, there's this pressure that you have to perform or you have to excel better because you have to get your choice of stream in 11 and 12. And then class 12, Mudikirapo, again, choice of MBBS or whatsoever. So I think that's where everything started. And there's this cliche, slogan that parents tell you, or even anybody whom you listen to. 10th nalla padichide, 11 and 12, you can be fine.
Life is never over after 12th.
Exactly.
Life is never over after college.
And 12th nalla padichide, just join a degree of your choice. But that race, I think, never ends. So that's how my competitive spirit was always into.
Okay, so getting into MBBS, of course, it demands academically more, which is as same as how UPSC is. But when did you start preparing for UPSC? Where did it start?
Okay, so this also has, in a way, a connection to the first question, because so where I started or how I started was always because until COVID, I was not into UPSC prep at all, because I think it was in 2020 to 21. So I was in my final year when COVID started, and final year is the most important year in MBBS. And when I was into MBBS, again, that motto to excel and gold medal exams in MMC, or by the way, I did my MBBS from Madras Medical College. So I think that was more of the dope factor. So wherein you had to be competitive, you had to compete and excel because you wanted to do whatever you've been doing really well. So excelling in medicine was the primary motto at that point of time. But like this UPSC game theory came into me, I think, slightly after COVID, because I kind of saw how COVID worked within the medical system. Then the role of bureaucrats came more into the limelight. So I really could see the air of, I would say maybe responsible power that they could instill into the system. Because as a medico or even as a doctor who was taking care of the COVID patients, it was all about, catering to the medical needs. But when it came to the requirements...
What is better service than a medical service to get into IAS?
Right. So it's always said that it's a noble profession. It's equated to the gods. And I completely do agree and accept on that. But the thing is that there are some constraints. You work within your constraints. Even if it's my college dean, who is probably 60 years, he, with even his medical expertise or wisdom, will probably be able to put in efforts only to procure different medicines or different ventilators, drugs, cater to with protocols. It's all on the medical side of the expertise. So what you need beyond that is the administrative expertise to actually ensure that you cater to the patient with a ventilator. It's about matching the demand and supply. And COVID is one such game changer, I would say, because it was not something that people expected. You never knew how things were working. It was a once in a lifetime experience, I would say, for doctors and for bureaucrats, or rather for the patients and the society as a whole. So that being the case, I think that taught me how administration actually works. And I've also been this kid who has always been into some sort of leadership activities. I mean, since school also. So I was, again, the house captain in school, and then I transitioned into being a leader in the Indian Medical Association, some organization called the Students Network Organization, which was affiliated to the WHO as well. So I was the national president for the students wing in the IMA and the SNO. So I think leadership activities was something that I enjoyed doing. So interacting with different medical students, raising demands, or maybe even trying to bring in new solutions, something at a micro level, even if it was at a very micro scale, I think I enjoyed doing it. So I think all this is kind of innate. So if it has been since my schooling or childhood, I think that's exactly what is manifested now.
Understood. So talking about, I'm not going to talk about preparation part, post-preparation part. You were always driven. So to perform, to compete, to get there. MBBS towards the end MBBS and then getting into UPSC and again excelling in that. What is now that is giving you the drive?
Right.
Because now you have cleared, you are into service. What are you looking up to so that I can have a feel of how you are going to be after 10 years, and if we get a chance, how can we meet and speak?
So there are certain quotes that we actually read in ethics for GS4. And one such quote that I came across was, again, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think Lord Acton says that. And there's one more quote also. So the only reason for evil to triumph is the silence of good men. So I think, at least until my UPSC journey, I've tried to be in that crusader who can probably get into very small micro level things at my level and try to push for what I thought was right. So it's not about really calling someone a messiah or a revolutionary. I don't think it's about that. But it's about making small changes to what you think can incrementally be done to the system. So it's not a one-man change. In fact, my lesson into the bureaucracy, maybe over these 1.5 to 2 years that I've been into, it tells me that you can make a change. You definitely can make. And it's a change. It'll definitely have an impact. But whether that change stays permanent, it does not depend on you, but it depends on your successor. So it's about making those changes which can stay for a longer time. It can continue to evolve. And that's how I see myself also trying to do something about it. So that impact factor, if there's something small that I can do, which probably can make somebody's life better, I think, in fact, all of our lives better, I think I'm happy about that. So I think that's something that drives me or keeps pushing me into something, because again, having that wide ranging interests on different arenas and different subjects, I think that gets me more amusing to delve into new areas. Like I think as a medico, I think I've never been into finance. So right now I think finance is something that I found interesting. So I found a new sport, a new hobby in finance. So something like that on different lines. And those I think are small incremental changes that you see at a very micro level. Some random geo that you dig up and then you see, okay, so this particular rule isn't fructuous anymore. But then that geo stays. It stays for about a number of years, maybe another 10 or 20 years. So unless and until somebody points out and says, so this is what it is.
It's no more needed.
It's null and void or it's infructuous. So unless and until someone makes that point, I think it's going to be really hard. So I think you really need some people to also show you the mirror and say, this is how it works. So I think these are like very small driving factors.
Understood. So now coming back to your preparation part. So 43 medals are MBBS.
So precise number, I think I would put it at 40.
And still you call a decent academician. 40 medals, and then you decide to do UPSC. And UPSC at full time, probably, if I'm understanding. So how did you start full time? If just we'll rewind back. You're starting your UPSC preparation full time. So how does your normal day look like? I normally keep asking this. Clear panna odane, ipo recent result has come. Clear panna odane, everyone who have cleared all the press and media goes, and what you do, they say that they say that they have done, and I know they must have done it, but it is very huge. Talking about 14 hours, 15 hours of studies for 2 years, 3 years. So I keep asking whoever I meet who have done like you, like, how does your full day look like? What time you wake up, what you study, how you study. Study deeper povenda, but at least to know what are your habits on a full day.
So
when you were prepared.
Yeah. So on a cursory, I started my prep, exactly speaking, on 3rd of August 2022. So I graduated around June to July of 2022. So I was just, busy picking up my certificates, the last leg of graduation technically. And I did try starting my preparation during internship, which was between 21 to 22, but then COVID played havoc. And also I really didn't get the time not the motivation, because I've always been this kid who has been actually studying in medicine. So the internship year was again all about work. So I just wanted to take a little time for myself. And when I tried still picking up a book to read, one, I lost my motivation. 2, I had my postgraduates who would say, come do this work and then let's see about your books. So it was really hard to study. So that was about internship. So post-intern was technically when I could probably, take a book, start reading up. So when I had to buckle my shoes and then start preparation, it was like there was a mammoth syllabus in front of me. So again, I'm a pretty lazy guy when it comes to planning my day.
You're very humble.
Well. But then, not really though. But it might sound when I say this, but I think my day is all about quality more than quantity. So I'm not someone who can sit idle for 15 or 16 hours a day. That is definitely not my cup of tea. அது என்னால் கண்டிப்பாக பண்ண முடியாது at any cost. I'm someone who is very extrovertish, or I'm more of a bumblebee, I would say. So I can just go keep talking to different people or do something random, open YouTube, you open social media, do anything random, but not keep cramming a particular book beyond 1 to 2 hours. My attention span is pretty limited. Plus, I cannot listen to any classes, lectures. I'm sorry, but even at Madras Medical College, I've never been able to listen to any lecture, and half the time I would just sleep. That's exactly what I would do, along with my fellow course-mates or batchmates. So my normal day was more of 11 a.m. in the morning or 11:30. That's when I would start, because I'm more of a night owl. So 11:30ish, somewhere around 1:30 or 2:30, in different breaks is what I can start reading, because I take 1 hour per subject, per chapter, or whatsoever. 1 hour reads is what I do. Then a 5 or 10 minute break. 5 minutes generally sometimes even goes to 10 or 15, but it's okay. I'm not very rigid about it. So after 10 or 15 minute break as well, I start again, go 1 more hour, 1:30 to 2:30 max, then again lunch. Because when I say 11:30, so that's when I wake up at 10. So that's exactly what I do. Wake up at 10, refreshments and breakfast, and then at 11:30. So 2:30ish have your lunch, sometimes 3:30, depending on how interesting the subject is. And again, a 3 or 2 hours again I can go on to read until 6:30 or 7. Then it's all about doing random stuff, do errands, go out, go for a walk, speak to random people, social media, WhatsApp, search Telegram. I think Telegram was more of a better resource than anything else. So randomly look up Telegram, and WhatsApp is never ending. So you start chatting with someone, it just goes on and on.
Did you do? I've seen இப்போ இருக்கிற மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த ஆஸ்பிரன்ஸ் என்ன பண்ணுவாங்கன்னா, நான் படிக்க ஆரம்பித்தோடனே முதல் ஒர்க் இன்ஸ்டாகிராம் டெலிட் பண்ணுறது, வாட்ஸ்அப் டெலிட் பண்ணுறது. They keep YouTube and Telegram for the reasons that you told, is because they have enough resources there. So were you that person? Because you're telling that you're more an extrovertish person.
No, I was honestly never able to do that, and I've never tried even doing that, because most of my communications with people were through WhatsApp. And even those PDFs in Telegram that I pick and choose, I send it to WhatsApp. I go have a look on WhatsApp. So WhatsApp was my go-to site. I really could not have done without WhatsApp. And with respect to Insta as well, I was never much into Insta, as much into WhatsApp, but Insta is addictive, of course. And I never tried uninstalling it, but I would try, using those apps which give you that count on how many hours you've used and all that. So guilt tripping, of course, did work. When I see 5 hours, 6 hours sometimes on just phone that I've used per day. But sometimes it's okay. It's completely fine as long as I have my quality targets sorted. So my average day would somewhere be around 6 productive hours that I put up per day. Beyond that,
from 11 to
whatever time I sleep.
On a 6 hours effective time.
Effectively. But I was a fast reader also. This comes with the disclaimer that I was...
So obvious, I think.
Again, I make this disclaimer always, because my journey technically, purely, irrespective of how I say, even if I had to testify, it has only been those 8.5 to 9 months, because I did not have to read up a new optional because I chose medical science. It was just about the GS subjects that I had to really do and cram. So very often when I say it was a journey of 8 to 9 months, people hardly believe, or people throw tantrums that it's not possible, and that is not a unique thing to do either. But I have my difference of opinion on that, because I think there are some toppers, like I've also looked up Artika Shukla madam, who is also a doctor, who was doing her pediatrics PG in PGM at Chandigarh, which is considered one of the apex institutes in the country. But when she said she cleared it in 4 months, if that was believable, I think 8 or 9 months was even more believable. So I kind of took her as an inspiration and as an example. I do agree that it's tough, but it's not impossible. So I think that's where it all starts from. And my day was more or less this way. Some days were cheat days. So I used to go out. I had some personal commitments to make. And that's how, most days went through. Some days would be, and I could just mix up different subjects. So I'm not someone who can sit and read one particular subject morning 11 to night 11. So that doesn't work. I used to sleep somewhere around, say, 1 o'clock in the night. I'm someone who needs 9 hours of sleep. I'm 8 to 10 somewhere around that, depending on the day. I can't work with less than 8 hours of sleep.
Veranda IAS, where your dream becomes reality.